My ex refused the paternity test to prove that her daughter is mine because it was insulting, but she was hysterical when the court ordered a DNA test. Buckle up. 15 years ago, I was 25 and was finishing my contract, and my then-girlfriend of 3 years, Natalie, was acting increasingly strange. I came back from a 2-month assignment and was prepared to break up with Natalie. She came by and gave me the good news she was pregnant. I asked how far along she was. She said 5 weeks, so I broke it off with her and told her she needed to do better at math. She refused the breakup and insisted the baby was mine, so I told her the following. 1. Paternity test, and 2. If the child was mine, we can talk about financial support and custody arrangements with lawyers. She refused both and told everyone we both knew that I was a deadbeat for knocking her up and leaving her. I told everyone I was on a 2-month assignment when she conceived, but a few insisted for the sake of decency. I housed her and gave her limited support. I consulted a lawyer about this mess, and the lawyer made it very, very clear that any overt support I give could be seen as me taking responsibility. So I told these friends that, and most dropped it, except one guy who again insisted that charity couldn't be used as a legal cudgel like that. I told him if he believes that he can house her. He agreed to drop it after that. The child was born and not even going to do the whole, she didn't look like me, because most babies are born with squished faces, and all I saw were the pics she sent me with messages like, "Emma wants to know where daddy is," and crap. She still refused to take any paternity tests, but her constantly showing up with that baby got to the point where I filed an RO. Fun fact, in my state, a permanent RO is not in fact permanent. It is 2 effing years long. The only way to get it longer is if there was a violent crime associated. And apparently bugging someone with a baby that's not theirs is not a violent crime. So my life for the last 14 years was me renewing the RO every 2 years because once it clears, Natalie shows up again with my not child. I did eventually find a nice girl, got married, and now I have a 9-year-old son, Henry. My wife, Kim, is well aware of Natalie and Emma. When the cycle begins again, I always say the same thing. 1. Paternity test. 2. Once paternity is proven, I will take custody and get financial support set up. Natalie always refuses and says both are insulting. Recently, the cycle started again, and this time Emma showed up first. She approached my son during a school event, visit to the zoo, and said, "Hi, I'm your big sister Emma." Henry knows about stranger danger and ran away to a teacher. I had to have a very, very painful talk to the teachers and parents that were at the event about my relationship with Emma and Natalie, and how Emma was never my daughter. I even called her my nodder once or twice in the conversation. After the group disbanded, one of the mothers confronted me and said that while Natalie was in the wrong telling this poor child I was her father, calling her my nodder was mocking this situation. I kind of get where she's coming from, just I can't help this child. And the honest truth is playing light of the 2-year cycles is the closest I can get to finding peace in the situation. Edit. To answer the repeated question, in my state, the mother has to start the petition for the father to be established and the test to start. There is no instance where a father can start the petition. There was a chance to do this when Emma was born, but the window was exactly 1 month, and I was much too focused on the RO, not thinking the paternity angle would bite me in the butt. One last time, to everyone saying just ask for custody, that'll force DNA test. Literally can't be done. Been through this enough with a lawyer and have consulted with other lawyers. There are laws protecting children, and a lot of them exist for good reasons. I'll explain it the way my lawyer explained it. Imagine there's a woman that ran from an abusive ex. She finds out after she escaped she's pregnant. She gives birth, never puts the ex on the birth certificate, never tries to file for support because she wants to get as far away from him as possible. He finds out years later and tries to rope her back in using the child as leverage. She can just say no, and the state has to let it go. There is, however, a provision if the father was involved enough to know when the birth was that he could submit his DNA to the state within 30 days of birth as a potential father. But that time has long passed. The law is designed this way on purpose. In the eyes of the family court, I am a random person, and I was never claimed to Emma. If you think the state wants all children to be claimed by fathers and will gladly submit any DNA test whenever any potential father shows up, find a random single mom, call the family court and say you want to claim her child? I am tired of everyone acting like all I needed to do was fill out one sheet of paper and this nightmare would end. please just call a lawyer for a free consultation or post on legal advice and ask them. It doesn't work that way. Update. Got off the phone with my attorney. We have a preliminary hearing on the new RO this week. We will most likely be issued a temporary RO, and then after that, another hearing for the permanent RO. CPS is investigating Natalie and Emma's living situation. The teacher's report held a lot of weight, and my lawyer thinks that this might actually be a way to end the madness now. In family court for minors, there exists something that's like a temporary court-appointed guardian. I think the term is guardian ad litem, who is only a guardian for legal purposes and procedures and decisions of such, including for medical. If the family court appoints such for Emma, we can ask this temporary guardian for the DNA test. Get this put to ground. The madness might actually have an ending in sight. I feel like I need to explain the relationship I had with Natalie all those years ago. When I got back from my 2-month assignment, I was already dead set on breaking up with her. Oh wait, I'm pregnant, was never going to make me marry her. In fact, I doubted she was pregnant for several weeks. The last year of our relationship, several red flags appeared in her behavior, ranging from demanding I check in with her while at work, only hang out with friends with her present, extreme bouts of jealousy if I ever seemed too friendly with women, including waitresses. I was in a line of work that demanded me being away for long stints, which she hated, but also kept me out of her reach for long periods of time. I think it was halfway through that last year I realized that when I was away, I did not miss her. In fact, I was relieved to plop into a cot and fall asleep after long hours of work without thinking about her. When the pregnancy turned out to be real, I made it clear that with a paternity test, I would pay support, split custody, and be a co-parent and nothing more. She wanted me to be her husband, no question asked, no test, just pure blind faith and devotion to her and the child. The test, she insisted, was insulting. There was never going to be a relationship, and there was no relationship to salvage with Natalie. On the advice of the first attorney I hired, the deal was no test, no contact. Court update. The preliminary hearing on the new RO went well. Natalie and Emma were there, and we discovered that Emma is currently living with her great-grandmother and has a guardian ad litem, court-appointed guardian on legal matters. My lawyer thinks this means whatever was found in Natalie's home situation warranted removing Emma and potentially severe enough that the great-grandmother only has physical custody and the need to appoint a guardian ad litem. During the hearing, we went through the whole song and dance, the past ROs, the whole deal. My lawyer turned to Emma's representative and said we were willing to submit to a DNA test and put this to bed. Natalie looked like she was having a conniption at that, and her own lawyer urged her to shush. Emma's representative accepted, and we were cheek swabbed in the courthouse. A temporary order is now in place while a second hearing is scheduled in the upcoming weeks for the permanent 2-year order. The order covers immediate family on both sides, and as I've detailed in the past, Natalie is actually good with following court orders. Oddly, we have about 4 weeks before we have the definitive test results back, but I'm not too worried either way. There was some people who thought the court couldn't use Charity as a cudgel as the father. Well, that's Jim. Haven't talked to Jim in 10 years, but Jim is gay and hated Natalie. He just also happened to be a give the shirt off his backs kind of dude, and as long as I knew him, he volunteered at a food pantry. His protests came mostly from naivety, not self-interest. Paternity update. We got the results in late last week, as did Emma's party. I am not the father. Natalie had a major blow-up when she heard the news from her grandmother, Sylvia. Emma's currently living at Sylvia's and is out of Natalie's custody. This blow-up included a major tantrum on my front lawn, which also violated the temporary RO. Natalie has been arrested and Sylvia hasn't bailed her out. Sylvia has communicated to my lawyer that she wanted to give her apologies for bankrolling Natalie's life the past 15 years. I only met Sylvia a few times when I was dating Natalie, and I know Natalie grew up with her, and Sylvia had money, but was never really told the extent of that. Sylvia has communicated via my lawyer, which is technically allowed with the RO in place, that both she and Emma want to send me an apology via a letter. I told my lawyer they were free to write whatever letters they wanted, as long as this was the last communication we had with them. The permanent RO is certainly going to be granted now, with the emergency one violated. We still don't know what caused Emma to be removed from Natalie's care, or if Natalie has any underlying issues. If we do get the letters, I will post them. Update. Got the letters. I got them Friday after my lawyer read them and deemed them okay. Sylvia's letter was detailing Natalie had a rough family life. Stuff I already knew about Natalie's father running out, then her mother leaving Sylvia to raise her. A lot of I did my best with what I had. Sylvia detailed that her and Emma will be okay. She does still have some money. Not FU money, but enough that Emma will have enough to get a very decent jumpstart in life when she turns 18. Sylvia housed Natalie and Emma in a house she owned in the city, while Sylvia lived about an hour north, out in the country. She sent Natalie money monthly for expenses and saw them about 4 times a year. Birthday, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. As for Emma's living situation, the only thing Sylvia said was the photos she saw of the city house broke her heart. Needless to say, Sylvia pledged to not enable Natalie anymore. Emma's letter was a lot sadder. It started with "Father who is not my father," which I found weird. She detailed how Natalie told her that if she behaved, I would accept her. My acceptance of her hinged entirely on Emma doing as told. Emma said Sylvia has her in therapy, and that Natalie told them both that I was dodging the test using legal loopholes. She said seeing me suggest the test in person made her feel like Natalie was right. I was able to accept her. She felt happy and hopeful. When the results came in, she said that was worse than not knowing at all. She apologized for scaring my son. Brother, who is not my brother, as she said in the letter. There is a weird tone to her letter, and I feel like she is coming to terms with things. The letter did hurt to read, but both of them pledged to not interact with any of us anymore. Natalie is still in jail. Maybe it's finally over.